Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः. Okay, we were looking at the Bhashya where Bhashyakara was negating the Bheda Bhedavadin who came in between, offering a via media, you can say, between the Advaitin and the Dvaitin. So the Bheda Bhedavadin mainly uses the argument that this Brahman is one, but it has parts, and some parts are samsari, but other parts are all asamsari. So at the same time, you can claim both it is samsari and asamsari. So this is called Ekadesha. Ekadesha means one portion of Brahman has become this Jiva. That is their argument. And for that, he takes the support of this analogy, that fire and spark analogy. Okay, so, and even Bhagavad Gita verses like Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhutas Sanatanaha. So the Jiva is my Amsha. There is even a Brahma Sutra about this Amsha. And even like Veda Vakyas like this Purusha Sukta is there, correct? Pado Osya Vishwa Bhutani Tripadasya Amritan Divi. Even Vakyas like this, they try to interpret it in a certain manner. Now, Bhashyakara is pointing out that you cannot interpret it as you like. Of course, any analogy will not be the same as whatever is being revealed through that analogy. Okay, there is a drishtanta or analogy or an example, and darshtantika, which is what is revealed through the example. So we should be very careful about what we take as the similarity between the example and whatever subject matter is being revealed. If you take the similarity wrongly, you will end up with wrong knowledge. So what Bhashyakara further pointed out here was, you have to also interpret it in such a way that you do not negate any existing knowledge. Whatever knowledge is already there, that should never be negated. And that's how you have to interpret any Vakya. And in your interpretation, actually, you are going against established knowledge that only a Niravayava Vastu can be Nitya. If you make Brahman or Ishvara Savayava, Savayava means one with Avayava or one with parts, then anything put together with parts will fall apart. It's not Nitya anymore, it will become Anitya. So this kind of a problem is there. You are going against logic, and you should not interpret the Shruti in such a way that you are against some other means of knowledge. It can be beyond logic. So each means of knowledge has to reveal something unique. Its own field of revelation has to be there. That is what we say anadhigatam. Adhigatam means something which you already know. Anadhigatam means that which you do not know or you cannot know through any other means of knowledge. Only a particular means of knowledge has to reveal to you. Like eyes reveal to you color. Means color can only be known through eyes. Sound can only be known through ears. Like that, each pramana has to reveal to you something which is not known through any other pramana, and it cannot be, the implication of that, it should not be later on also be negated by any other pramana. Abadhitam also is important for a valid knowledge. Both anadhigatam, abadhitam, these are the two lakshanas or characteristics of valid knowledge which we talk about. So even Shruti also has to be interpreted keeping that in mind. And here the Shruti Tatparya is very clear from Upakrama and Upasamhara, how the Shruti begins, how it ends, what it teaches in between. All that if we analyze, we see that Brahman is always presented as Eka, Advitiya, correct? So it is one and only one, non-dual, without any parts, without any activity. So anything you say without any quality, like that, all these adjectives are used. Even contradictory kind of adjectives are used to show that it is not an object of your knowledge. It is said that it is Anor Aniyan. So it is smaller than the smallest. Mahato Mahiyan. It's bigger than the biggest also. So that is how Brahman is presented. That means what? Whichever way you look at it, it is beyond all types of objectification. If you look at it as small, means it is smaller than the smallest also. If you are looking for the big, it is bigger than the biggest, because it is not finite, in fact, and it is not something you can objectify. So that is the teaching. And not only that, Upanishad clearly also does ninda of Dvaitam. It's not that it is only teaching Brahman is Advaitam, truth is Advaitam. Correct? Tattvam, Advaitam, Tattvam is one part. But it also does ninda of Dvaitam. That also Bhashyakara quoted here. Ya iha nana iva pashyati. Okay, this is there in Brihadaranyaka. Similar statement is there even in Kathopanishad. There is a ninda vachanam is there. So Dvaita is condemned, you can say. So you go from death to death and all it says. Okay, if you see as though there is many, then you are going to go from death to death, because you are taking yourself as a limited being in this many objects in the world. You are one of the objects. If you consider like that, then you are going to go from death to death like this. The Upanishad does ninda also. From all these things, what we know, so one of the important points we know is that even though Upanishad is talking about Srishti Prakriya, see, this is another thing they talk about. This Veda Vedavadin and all, they say that Srishti Prakriya is talking about Dvaita, correct? It is talking about how the manifold world arose from one. Let us say there was one before, but that one, from that one, many has come. So Upanishad is talking about many also. Upanishad is talking about one also. So both have to be taken into account. That is why we are giving Veda and Aveda both. Like this they are arguing, correct? So for this only another point which Bhashyakara talked about is what? Even the many is talked about only to teach you the one. So the many will be shown as Mithya. The whole Srishti Prakriya, the Srishti Prakriya is not a separate topic. There is only Ekavakyata. For all the Upanishads, there is only one subject matter, which is to teach the oneness of Brahman. And since Brahman is one, it is not other than yourself also. That is implied there. So that being the case, Srishti Vakyas, they do not have a separate subject matter of their own and establish that the world is many and all that. In fact, that need not be established by the Shruti itself, because Pratyaksha itself is giving you at least an appearance that there are many things are there, correct? So Shruti need not talk about it again. But Shruti talks about cause and effect only to show that the effect is mithya, cause alone is satyam. And therefore again it establishes the oneness of Brahman alone. So finally he concluded that Tasmad Eka Rupa Ekatva Pratyaya Dhardhyaya Eva Sarva Vedanteshu Utpatti Sthiti Layadi Kalpana Na Tat Pratyaya Karanaya. So this Utpatti Sthiti Layam, correct? Creation, sustenance, and dissolution or resolution is not to teach that itself. That is being talked about only to show that Brahman is the cause for all these things of the world. World's Upatti also is Brahman alone is the Karana. World sustenance also Brahman alone is the Karana. And again, when the world resolves, it goes back into Brahman alone. So for all these things, Brahman alone is the cause. Therefore, Brahman alone is Satyam. Brahman alone is there. That is the teaching. Not to teach that there are many things because it got created and all that. That's not the point here. So that is one point he establishes, that Shrishti Paravakya also are actually teaching only the oneness of Brahman. Having said that, he is also pointing out now another logical flaw in the Veda Vedavadin's argument is that this is where we were, I think, last week. So he says, Nacha Niravayavasya Paramatmanaha Asamsarinaha Samsari Ekadesha Kalpana Nyaya. So Nyaya means you can take it as reasonable or logical. It is non-Nyaya means it is not reasonable or logical. What is not reasonable? Paramatma, which is presented as a partless whole, Niravayava, and it is also asamsari, it is not subjected to any sukha dukkha, a life of becoming. You cannot say that one part of that alone is samsari. Okay, that doesn't fit, or that is not logical, because what is Niravayava, what is a partless whole, cannot have a part itself. Then only you can talk about that parts, samsaritvam and all that. So the reason for that, what Bhashyakara says first is Swataha Adeshatva Paramatmanaha. The Paramatma does not have any location or any division within itself. It is a partless whole. Therefore, it cannot be divided into one part which is samsari, another part which is asamsari. So he explains that Adeshasya Parasya Ekadesha samsaritva kalpanayam parayeva samsari iti kalpitam bhave. So if you still say that, then what will happen is what? Even though Paramatma is Adesha, it doesn't really have any parts, or it doesn't have any location or division. Still, if you say that one part of that Paramatma is samsari, like that, if you imagine or if you have an opinion, if you do a kalpana like that, then what will be the implication of that? Paramatma alone is the samsari. It will become like that. Okay, parayeva samsari iti kalpitam bhave. You cannot maintain that Paramatma is still asamsari. Even if one part of Paramatma, if you say is samsari, Paramatma is samsari only. Okay, but this is the big but here. Atha, okay. पर उपाधिकृत एकदेशः परस्य घटकरकादि आकाशवत्. So, but if you say that this Paramatma, due to conditioning factors, upadhikrita, not swataha. Swataha means its own nature is like that. It is not like that. It is due to conditioning factors, upadhi. So whatever is done by the upadhi, due to upadhi, you think that Paramatma has a part, like even a part. Okay, part, based on a part, we say that there is a part space. Correct? So if you say that there is a part space, is it really a part space? Tell me that. Okay, there is no part space. Or karakadivat means jar and bowl and all that. Okay, so bowl, jar, whatever different kinds of vessels made up of some material is there, and then each of them contains some space. Now you can say that this is pot space, this is jar space, bowl space and all that. But in reality, space itself is not divisible. It is indivisible whole. Okay. Only from the standpoint of a conditioning factor like a pot or a bowl, we say that there is a bowl space or a pot space. If you say that, then it is different. Okay, that's what Bhashyakara is pointing here. Na tada tatra vivekinam paramatma ekadeshaha pritak samvyavahara bhak iti buddhihi utpadyate. So those who have viveka, okay, those who have knowledge, those who have discriminatory knowledge, what is truth, what is not truth. Okay, for them, this Paramatma has parts, and it is and those parts are the ones which take part in all this Vyavahara and then undergo samsara. Like this, they do not have any knowledge. Any knowledge like that does not happen to them. Okay, it does not arise. Na buddhihi utpadyate. This na you have to connect here, because they look upon all this, whatever parts, etc., as upadhi kritaha, not real. It is only due to conditioning factor. So like this, Bhashyakara is trying to explain how Vyavahara also is there, which is only nothing but avidya dasha it is. And for the one who has knowledge, that person's vision is totally different. Even though it doesn't mean that he does not see the multiplicity and all that. Even while looking at the blue sky, we can say that sky is, or space is not blue, correct? Appearances are different, but reality is different. Sunrises, we can enjoy a sunrise, still know that sun does not really rise. It is the earth which is rotating. So all these things are there. So Bhashyakara is pointing out that then the Purva Pakshi now says, Avivekinam vivekinam cha upacharita buddhihi drishta iti chet, he says. See, he says, the jiva, for the jiva, this samsaritam is there. Okay. So if you say that asamsari alone is the reality, then even for the jiva, this samsaritam is only figurative. Similarly, even the jnani also is there in the world. Jnani only is the guru. Jnani has to teach. Jnani also perceives the multiplicity of the world. For jnani also it is upachara only, it is figurative, you can say it is only an appearance. So for both of them it is similar. What is the big deal? Like this, the Purva Pakshi is now trying to actually say that if you say like this, for both, this is the problem in fact all Dvaitins and Vishishtadvaitins have, because they do not understand that there is a difference between avidya dasha and a vidya dasha. Okay, there is the ignorance is there, means the state of the ignorant is totally different from the state of the one who has knowledge, correct? This they somehow do not get it, or they don't want to get it. So now he is putting the objection differently. He says that if what you say is true, for both of them it is the same. For both of them it will become figurative, because you are saying there is no samsari anyway. So he says for both aviveki and viveki, this upacharita buddhihi drishta, he says. Okay. Bhashyakara now says no, there is a big difference. Why? Because avivekinam mithya buddhitvat. So the knowledge of this aviveki is erroneous. It is false cognition, false knowledge. Although he thinks it is true, it is really false knowledge. But Vivek, the one who has Viveka, discriminatory knowledge, for him it is different. Vivekenam cha samvyavahara matra alambanarthatva. So even though the Viveki Purusha is also there in the world, he is only taking or talking in a Dvaita manner only to really do this Vyavahara. Okay, keeping this Vyavahara as a basis. There is no Paramarthika Buddhi in this. So Vyavahara Buddhi means what? Transactional relative reality one has to accept. Then only you can be involved in any transaction in the world, correct? So on that basis, Jnani also is doing transactions in the world. Jnani also has to eat. Jnani also has to teach, talk to somebody, consider the student as different from oneself and talk. All this is there, but it is not, doesn't have any reality. It is only transactional, relative. But for the aviveki, it is real. I am different from you. Everything else is different from each and everything. So you cannot equate both of them. So for that he gives another example. He says, Yatha Krishnaha Raktascha Akashaha iti Vivekinamapi Kadachit Krishnata Raktata cha Akashasya Samyavahara Matra Alambanarthatvam Pratipadyate iti. So sometimes even like like right now in the evening, if you look at the sky, okay, so it can be dark, correct? In one portion of the sky, it is dark. So Krishna, or if the sun is just setting, then that portion of the sky alone is red in color. So the sky or the space may look dark in one place, red in another place, and all that. Okay, so even a jnani who knows that space really is not having any color can still do vyavahara, saying that right now the sky is red or dark, this portion of the sky is dark or space is dark. Or like I told you, even a jnani can say that sun is rising, but that is all only knowing very well that the sun does not rise or space does not have any color. It is only a for ease of communication, you can say, or doing transaction in this world, we can use the same words like an ajnani. So it is only samvyavahara matra alambana means what? Alambana means a basis, you can say. So the basis of this kind of behavior of the jnani is that he is going along with to do the transactions in this transactional world. Jnani also has to take the same or has to do the things in the same manner so that everybody else also will understand. Yeah, otherwise, for each sentence, he cannot keep saying, okay, sun is rising, but in reality, sun never rises. You don't have to tell that all the time, correct? You cannot be saying that also. And so, like this, for the jnani also, he looks at it, means he will see that and he may even tell about that, but it is not reality. Na paramarthataha krishnaha raktaha va akashaha bhavitum arhati. The akasha, space, cannot be black or dark or red, etc. in reality. Therefore, what? Ataha na panditaihi brahma swarupa pratipatti vishaye brahmanaha amsha amshi ekadesha ekadeshi vikara vikaritva kalpana karya. So what he says finally, therefore, when you are talking about the knowledge of Brahma Swarupa, understanding the Brahma Swarupa by Panditas, by the knowledgeable people, when you are talking about that as a subject matter, you cannot be having all these imaginations of yours that Brahman is having Amsha and Amshi Bhava, correct? Brahman is the Amshi, but it also has some Amshas, means it has some parts. It is a whole and part. Or Ekadesha, Ekadeshi. So you can say unit and fraction, things like that. Or Vikara Vikari. So one portion of that alone changes Vikari, otherwise it is Avikari. All this Kalpana you cannot do. Why? Because Brahman itself, how is it presented by the Upanishads? We have to understand that, correct? Sarva Kalpana Apanayanartha Sara Paratvat Sarva Upanishadam. So the Upanishad, all the Upanishads are presenting Brahman as beyond any kind of objectification of the mind and the words, correct? Yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasa saha. So both words and mind return from Brahman. Even Keno Upanishad is very clear. Nedam edidam upasate. Whatever you think as this is not Brahman. Brihadaranyaka also will talk about that. Neti neti and all that will come later. So Whatever you objectify, that is not Brahman, because Brahman is always yourself, which is the eternal subject, which can never be objectified. That is the point here. So any kalpana you do about Brahman is only upasana. For upasana purpose, you can do all this kalpana, visualization. But that's not the reality. That should not be your understanding. Your understanding of Brahman should be as presented by the Upanishads, which present it as the eternal subject, which is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, the limitless conscious being. That is how Brahman is presented, and also not separate from you. So you cannot have all these kinds of imaginations or visualization that Brahman is having a power, or Brahman is the whole, and or Brahman is the complete unit, and there are fractions within that, or some portion alone is changing. All these things are all not correct. Therefore, what ataha hitva sarva kalpanam akashasya iva nirvisheshata pratipattavya. So giving up all these qualities, okay, all your visualizations, all the objectifications you have to give up and understand Brahman as the partless whole, even like the Akasha, like space. Space doesn't have any Vishesha, although technically we say Shabda Gunakam. Space is not really Nirguna like Brahman, but in a gross world, space is the subtlest thing. But Brahman is even subtler than that. So sound is the guna, Shabda Gunakam Akasha, like that we do say, but even then Akasha is looked upon as Niravayava, that which does not have any parts, therefore it is Nitya also. It is considered to be, at least in the Nayayikas and others accept it that way. So that Akasha is used even by the Shruti here, you can see. So like the Akasha, you have to understand the Brahman as having no Visheshas. That point Bhashyakara says here, and he even quotes Akashavat Sarvagatascha Nityaha. Shatapatha Brahmana itself is talking about this Brahman as like Akasha. It is all pervading, and it is eternal. And not only that, Kathopanishad, na lipyate loka dukkhena bahyaha. Brahman is not subjected to any samsaritvam. It is asamsari, it is bahyaha, it transcends this world of subject and object, and it is not touched by any of these things. It is always a conscious being alone which is lighting up everything, whatever it may be. It is never touched by any of this dukkha or sukha in this loka, whatever you experience here. So ityadi shruti shatebhyaha, he says. Like this, there are hundreds of Shruti Vakyas are revealing the nature of Brahman. So you cannot put all your kalpana on that. Further, what? Na atmanam brahma vilakshanam kalpaye. So Brahman itself is asamsari. It is not touched by the world and all that. Fine. Even I accept. So Veda Vedavadin also can say that. But Atma is still separate. Vijnanamaya Atma is different. That also you cannot imagine. So Bhashyakara specifically says that. He says, Na Atmanam Brahma Vilakshanam Kalpaye. You cannot say that this Jivatma, individual conscious being, is separate from the Brahma Chaitanyam. That also you cannot imagine. Then what will happen? It will be like Ushnatmakaha Iva Agnau Shita Ekadesham. So it is like saying Agni is hot, but one portion of that alone is cold. Because what are you saying in effect? Brahman is asamsari, but one part of that asamsari Brahman alone is samsari. It is like saying the same thing, like fire is hot, but one portion of that flame is cold. Or prakashatmakeva savitari tama ekadesham. So sun is brightness, but 1 part of that sun is dark. Tama Ekadesham is there. Although this Savita is Prakashatmaka, it is of the very nature of brightness. There is darkness in that. Like this, it will all be contradictory. Sarva Kalpana, Apanayanartha Saraparatvat, Sarva Upanishadam. So again, he's repeating that. It's very important. See, he said that here also. Normally, Bhashyakara doesn't repeat like this, but here he is saying the same thing again. There he said it in the context of the nature of Brahman. Here he is saying in the context of whether Brahman and Jiva are different. That also you cannot consider. Because the Upanishads are very clear that everything is a manifestation of Brahman alone. Nothing is separate from Brahman. So that's why this Vedavadin has to accept that even Jiva is a part of Brahman. But if he says that, then the part alone will become samsari. That is also a problem. It is illogical. It's a problem. It cannot be explained away. So Brahman is beyond all your kalpanas. And even the Upanishadic teaching itself is to only show you that Brahman is not an object of any kind of mental activity, you can say. Okay. So it is, you cannot visualize Brahman. That is why even this, sometimes even those who study Vedanta, even while you are understanding, assimilating the teaching, people try to visualize, but that visualization also sometimes can be problematic. So if you say Atma is limitless, then you close your eyes and visualize that you are spreading everywhere. Spreading everywhere in space also is problem. Understand that. That visualization is not correct. That can be okay for doing some dhyanam, some kind of an upasana. But here, even that is not correct. Brahman is that very space-time itself is Brahman. You cannot be spreading in space, etc., which is again a problem in your understanding. So all this objectification you have to give up and just to own up yourself as the eternal subject. So that is the point here. So all the teaching, in fact, is only negative teaching, really. Understand that. This point, in fact, Bhashyakara makes in Mandukya Karika Bhashya also, and even in Brahma Sutra Bhashya also, in one place, in the beginning only he says that, I think, in the introduction. So basically, Upanishad need not reveal the self because self is self-revealing. It has to only remove all the wrong notions. And one of the one and only major wrong notion that is that you think you are one of the object in this world, correct? Because you take yourself as the body, mind, sense complex. There are many bodies, many beings like that. So you take yourself as one in many. So that has to be negated very strongly. So constantly you have to do this analysis that whatever I see is not me. This has to go on. It's a very simple thing, but whatever I know is not I, including your sorrow, your dukkha, everything, sukha, dukkha, your body, mind, all your thoughts, whatever you know, it is not you. You are only the conscious being to whom everything becomes evident. That is the Sakshi Bhavana. So first is the Sakshi Bhavana one has to develop. That is a big Nididhyasana. Understand that. You are the Sakshi, means you gain a certain space between yourself and whatever is known to you or whatever becomes evident to you. If you have that space, you are no more a suffering individual and all that. Understand that. The suffering individual is there only when there is an identification between body, mind, sense complex and you place your I there. But if you have to extract the I out of this body, mind, sense complex. Of course, from the world you have certain extraction already because you don't take this laptop as yourself, correct? Or the mobile phone as yourself. All the problem starts only from the body. So there also, but you know your body means I am not the body. I know I am hungry means you are not really hungry. You are not the hunger, in fact. You are not the prana. I know all my thoughts means none of the thoughts are yourself. I know I am suffering means you are not really suffering. Understand that. I know my sorrow means you don't have any sorrow really. That is the Vedantic logic. May be very difficult, but you have to understand that. So, anyway, so all this kalpana has to be removed. And you have to understand yourself as you are. You are a conscious being that is effortless. Everything is becoming evident to you effortlessly. You are a self-evident conscious being. That alone is the reality. Everything else is mithya only because it comes and goes. Each and every cognition only reveals the invariability of your conscious being. But instead of understanding that, that is the most obvious thing. Each and every cognition resolves in yourself. Because in each and every cognition, something becomes evident to you. That only implies that you are the conscious being, invariable conscious being in every cognition. Whatever you cognize keeps on varying. That is all mithya. Understand that. Whatever changes is mithya. You are the only invariable in each and every cognition. And that can never be mithya. You are the Satya Vastu. And that is your reality. You are just a conscious being. That's all. Whatever becomes evident to you, it becomes evident to you. At the end of the day, it should not even matter what it is, really speaking. Okay. So, because whatever is becoming evident to you is also all prarabdha. We have to finally take it that way, correct? So therefore, what here? Tasmat nama rupa upadhi nimitta eva atmani asamsara dharmini sarve vyavaharaha. So therefore, what he says? Nama rupa upadhi nimitta eva atmani sarve vyavaharaha. In this atma, which is again asamsara dharmini, means what? Which has the quality of being an asamsari. Then where does all this vyavahara come? All the transactions. Means it is all due to only nama rupa karma. Like this, even in Brihadaranyaka we saw. Everything has a name, form, and function is there. It is all due to that. It's all only upadhi nimitta. It is all only due to conditioning factors. It is not your reality. And again he is quoting Shruti here. Rupam rupam prati rupo babhuva. So Brihadaranyaka itself, later it will come. So this Brahman only manifests as each and every form. Like even the entire clay world, if you take, clay alone is manifesting as different names and forms. In the entire gold universe, gold alone is manifesting as different jewelry. Like this, Brahman alone is there in all these names and forms. And this is said even better. Those who know Purusha Sukta also, we chant this part, although this is not there in the original Rigveda Purusha Sukta, I think. This is part of the Taittiriya Aranyaka. But we chant this, Sarvani Rupani Vichitya Dhiraha Namani Kritva Bhivadanyadaste Dhata Purastadyamuda Jahara Shakra Pravidvan Pradisacchatasraha Tamevam Vidvan Amrita Iha Bhavati. All these things are there. Sarvani Rupani Vichitya Dhiraha Namani Kritva Abhivadan Yadaste. So this Vichitya, Rupani Vichitya means one who has projected or manifest as all these different rupas, forms. So this Dhiraha, here Dhiraha is Parameshwaraha only. Okay. So the wise one or the one who knows Jnani, we can take Dhiraha. And one who is having projected all these forms, keep saying the names, it seems. Abhivadan Yadaste, telling the names, he is there, goes on telling the names. Means he does Vyavahara. This Brahman alone is appearing as all these different jivas and then doing vyavahara. That comes here also in the Taittiriya. So ityevamadi mantra varnebhya. So these are all part of Shruti. So from this, what we understand from all these mantra varnas, na swataha atmanaha samsaritvam. Samsaritvam is not the nature of Atma. It is not there in Atma. Then how everybody is experiencing this samsaritvam means it is all upadhi kritam. That's what he is giving again the analogy. Alaktakadi उपाधि संयोग जनित रक्त स्फटिकादि बुद्धिवत भ्रांतमेव न परमार्थतः. So all this samsaritva is all only bhranti, is all only erroneous, false cognition, it's all ignorance. It is like saying that spatika is red. Okay, spatika is a colorless crystal, but if you keep a red flower or even this lac, we say correct lacquer, which is red in color, we use it even to put seal and all that. You keep that near this spatika, means spatika will now appear in that color, correct? So alaktaka means here it is some kind of a red cloth or red lac. So having that near this spatika, what will happen? In spatika also this color will get generated because it is in contact with this upadhi, the conditioning factor. So upadhi means what? Something which stays near something else and gives its own quality to the other thing. That is how upadhi is looked upon. So it is only erroneous knowledge. The spatika is not really red, even though it may appear to be red. Similarly, the jiva is not really a samsari. Okay. And that is again further said in Upanishads, Vyayati iva, lelayati iva. So even any thinking you do, any activity you do, all are only as though iva is there. This 4-3 is very, very important. 4-4 also. 4-4-23 and all is very important. Vakyas we'll see later. Na karmana vardhate, no kaniyan. So due to karma, this Brahman does not become more, nor does it become less. Na karmana lipyate papakena, it is not bound by any papa karma also. It is not touched by also any papa karma. Means punya also it is not touched by. Understand that, not just papa. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam in Bhagavad Gita also. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram. Like that. Even there what? Parameshwara is there in all the beings. Does it make Parameshwara the Maha Samsari then? No. Parameshwara is not touched. Understand that. So then you also have to understand the same thing. Parameshwara is the Kshetrajna in all the Kshetras. That is how the 13th chapter starts. Kshetrajnam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. So in all the Kshetras, I am the Kshetrajna. In all the fields, you can say, or all the locations, locus, I am the one who is the knower, who is there as the knower in all the sentient beings. And later on, Bhagavan gives the analogy of Surya also. Yata prakashayatyekaha kritsnam lokam imam ravihi and all that. So like even the sun, there is only one sun, but then it lights up everything. In fact, it is there even in reflecting in different reflecting media also it enters and it is there. From there also it lights up. But there is only one sun. Similarly, there is only one Paramatma. It is there. Samam means it is there equally everywhere. There is nowhere consciousness is not there. Understand that. Even what you think as insentient rock, that you break it down further and further, finally it has to end up in consciousness only. And that consciousness is not really touched by any of these notions of samsaritvam. And even a jnani also is like that. Shuni chaiva shvapakecha pandita samadarshinaha. So the jnani also has to have that samadrishti, because aham sarvatma, I am the atma of everything. So there is nothing different for me. So whether it is a dog or a dog eater, like that it is said. Shuni chaiva shvapakecha, I am there as the atma. There is no Veda Buddhi for a jnani. Everywhere this Atma is there. So from all this Shruti Smriti Nyayebhyaha, what is the Nyaya means? Also, this Brahman is understood as Kutastha, Asanga and all that. So Kutastha is another analogy. So Nyaya here can mean logic or even analogy, internal analogies or whatever. Whatever methodologies are used to teach you. So like this, when you say Brahman is Kutastha means Kute Tishtati, like you go to a blacksmithy, you have one anvil there on which you keep everything and beat. The anvil itself never changes. Whatever you keep on that and beat, that changes its shape, and then that's how you make different metal things, correct? Like this Brahman is like that anvil, it never changes. It is always the same. All these analogies also have been given. From all this, we understand that Brahman is asamsari. So Paramatmanaha asamsarita eva. Paramatma is only asamsari. You cannot say even one part of Paramatma is samsari. That is all wrong. That is not correct interpretation. Therefore, in fact, he makes it even more clear. He says, Ataha ekadeshaha vikaraha shaktirva vijnanatma anyaha va iti vikalpayitum niravayavatva apyubagame visheshataha na shakyate. So therefore what? This niravayatva apyubagame. So if you understand that this Paramatma is niravayava, is a partless whole, then you cannot then say that ekadeshaha, one part of that alone is having something, or one part of that alone is a vikara, it modifies, or there is a particular shakti in one part alone, there is a power, or the Vijnanatma, this Jivatma, this individual conscious being is separate. All these vikalpa means divisions. You cannot do any of these things because it is niravayava, it doesn't have any avayava, any parts, so that you can divide it. It is a partless whole. So therefore you cannot do all these divisions. Visheshataha na shakyate. So you cannot do any dividing. In fact, if you divide again, bhayam, udaramantaram kurute atatasya bhayam bhavati. Even if you have a little bit of division, you will have only bhaya. Dvitiyadvai bhayam bhavati. Like that, even in Brihadaranyaka 1:4 itself it was said. Therefore what? Amshadi shruti smriti vadascha ekatvarthaha. So even this amsha, etc., which is talked about, is only to show the ekatvam of Brahman. Again, that is the tatparya there. You cannot interpret it wrongly. Natu Veda Pratipadakaha, they are not there to show that Veda is the reality. So this all this Amsha talk also is only to show that oneness is the reality. Because what Vivakshitartha Ekavakya Yoga Titi Avochama. So I have already told you, there is only one subject matter. The subject matter is to reveal the oneness of Brahman. There is no other subject matter you can establish, in fact. And everything else also is only to reveal this particular subject matter which is under discussion, which is the oneness of Brahman. There cannot be any other subject matter here. There is a Ekavakyata is there. Okay. Therefore, so here with this, Bhashyakara has finally negated the Bheda Vedavadin. Okay, so because the Veda Vedavadin came in between the Dvaitin and the Advaitin, and he tried to propound his own some theory, which has been now thoroughly discredited, shown as illogical, and cannot be maintained in the light of whatever the Upanishads are teaching. Now the Dvaitin comes back now with all the force. Okay, he gives his own, the same old arguments. Anyway, we'll see that. So he says, Sarva Upanishadam Paramatma Ekatva Jnana Paratve Atha Kimartam Tat Pratikulaha Arthaha Vijnanatma Vedaha Parikalpyate iti. So if all the Upanishads are only dedicated to teaching this Ekatvam of the Paramatma, okay, then for what purpose something which is opposed to that and which is contradictory to that, it is even talking about all this Vijnana Atma. This chapter is talking about a Vijnana Atma. Why is it even talking about this Vijnana Atma, or why it is actually imagining or visualizing and talking about this, which is opposed to this oneness, which is contradictory to the oneness which is supposed to be the subject matter of the Upanishad according to you. So like this, the Dvaitin now comes back, because if the Advaitin's contention is accepted, then Dvaita is destroyed. Dvaita cannot stand anymore. So he comes back now with all the force. So now he brings in some technical arguments. He says, so okay, why does all this Vijnanatma, this separate individual conscious beings are talked about, means some people can say, it seems. This is the Purvapakshi himself is saying. He says, Karma Kanda Pramanya Viroda Pariharaya Ityeke. So some people say, why this Upanishad is talking about this individual conscious being? Because without separate individual conscious beings, this entire Karma Kanda will not be maintainable. It will become useless, correct? Unless there are many beings who take themselves as Karta Bhokta are there, there is no point in mandating any karma to anybody, correct? There won't be anybody. If everybody is Akarta Abhokta, who will do the karma? So to maintain the Pramanya, that Karma Kanda is also a valid means of knowledge. For that purpose only, the Upanishad also is talking about all this Vijnanatma. Like this, some people can say, like this he says. And then he explains further. What does he say? Karma Pratipadakani hi Vakyani Aneka Kriya Karaka Phala Bhoktri Kartra Ashrayani Vijnanatma Bheda Bhavehi Asamsarinaha Eva Paramatmanaha Ekatve Katam Ishtafalasu Kriyasu Pravarta Yeyuhu. So he explains further. He says, all the Veda Vakyas which are revealing different karma, okay, different Vakyas are, in fact, they are the majority. They are all based on what? That Aneka Kriya Karaka Phala Bhoktri Kartra Ashrayani, he says. So they are all dependent on there being many actions, many factors of action, many results of action, and many enjoyers of action also. Many people who take themselves as Karta and Bhokta. All these things is dependent on these things for the Karma Kanda to be considered as a valid means of knowledge. All these things are implied. They have to be there. Otherwise, it cannot have any, it cannot be addressed to anybody, in fact. It will become useless. And if you say Vijnanatma Bheda Abhave, if the Vijnanatmas, the individual conscious beings are not separate from Paramatma, and therefore even the individual conscious beings are all asamsari only, if you say like that, then how can there be any engagement in this action, desiring some results? Because everybody, if they are asamsari, they will not have any desire for karma phala. There cannot be any engagement. Nobody will be engaged in any action, because they will all not be interested in karma phala, like you say. Therefore, there is a problem. Okay. So even if you say that the Upanishad is talking about this Vijnanatma to maintain the Pramanya of the Karma Kanda, but still the Upanishad, whatever it is trying to teach, if that is the reality, then Karma Kanda itself will be totally not maintainable. It will become irrelevant, useless. And also, see, one is to engage in activity for getting whatever you desired. Another is anishta palabhyaha va kriyabhyaha nivartayeyuhu. Disengage also from undesirable things, because Shruti is both Vidhi and Nisheda, correct? When the Shruti Vidhi is there, mandates of the Karma Kanda, it is both about what you have to do and what you have to avoid, what you should not do, so that you avoid undesirables. So you want desirable things, do this, engage in this activity. If you want to avoid undesirables, don't do these things also. Like this, both are there. Now, who will be doing all these things? If you say that the Vijnanatma, the individual conscious being, is also a samsari, asamsari, sorry, like Paramatma, and there is only one Paramatma. And further, what this is again standard Dvaitin argument. He says, Kasya va baddhasya mokshaya Upanishad arabhyeta. So, for whose purpose this Upanishad itself is starting? If you say there is no, in reality, there are no samsari jivas, then who is the one who is bound, for whom you are talking about freedom? Today is Independence Day also, correct? So who is going to have freedom? Tell me. Why should the Upanishad even start? If there is nobody bound, then there is no question of having any freedom for anybody. Further, what? Apicha Paramatma ekatva vadi pakshe katham Paramatma ekatva upadeshaha. And also, if you say that Paramatma alone is there, then who is teaching whom? There cannot be any vyavahara between teacher student also, correct? So how can there be any teaching? This Paramatma ekatva teaching itself is contradictory. If Paramatma alone is there, nobody need to be taught about anything. There need not be any teaching. And further, what? Katham va tad upadesha grahana phalam. Also, what? How can you have any phala for this teaching also? Then teaching itself is not possible, in fact. And even then, if you say teaching is there also, then what is the result of such a teaching? That also cannot be there really, because already you are a free person, correct? Then what is the result of this teaching? And baddhasya hi bandhanashaya upadeshaha. So only one who is bound, for him to be freed, for him to destroy his bindings, only the upadesha or teaching is there. Tad abhave, if there is no one bound, okay, tad abhave Upanishad Shastram nirvishayameva. So if there is nobody bound, if there is nobody as a samsari, then Upanishad Shastra does not have anything to say. It doesn't have any subject matter to talk about. So this being the case, what? Evam tarhi Upanishad vadi pakshasya karma kanda vadi pakshena chodya pariyarayoho samanaha panthaha. So he says, both of you are, both the karma kandi and jnana kandi are in the same boat. Why? Because the same questions you have to answer. Both of you have to answer the same question. Particularly if you say Paramatma is only there, only Paramatma alone is there, asamsari, there is no other samsari, jiva. Like this, if you say, both the karma kanda also will become meaningless, and even jnana kanda also is will have a problem, because then who is bound, who will be teaching whom? All these questions you have to answer. Both of them will become apramanya, he says. That is the problem. So you are both the karma kanda and jnana kanda will be in the same boat. They will be having questions which they cannot really answer. That is his argument. Why? Because what? Yena bheda abhave karma kandam niralambanam atmanam na labhate pramanyam prati tata upanishad api. So if there is no bheda, if the bheda abhava is there, okay, if there is no bheda, then karma kanda will become niralambanam, means it doesn't have any basis then. If there is no difference, then there is no question of doing any karma. And similarly, Upanishad also will have the same problem. It will not have any pramanyam. It will not be a valid means of knowledge for anything. It is useless. Both karma kanda and jnana kanda will become useless if we accept Advaita. Like this he is starting. In fact, he further goes. We'll see this next week. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।